Time to see what the wizards are up to.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everyone. First of all, sorry for the delay. We're trying out a new technique for adding graphics into the stream, and it did not go smoothly.
Our technical skills are a little bit limited.
Yeah, so we had an issue with the file sizes being too big to upload, and then my speakers decided to die. So we rearranged.
Fortunately, you had a beautiful pair of pink speakers ready to go that you had ordered.
Speakers that have been sitting here that I have been wanting to connect. So it all worked out. So we have a lot of cool stuff to cover today. We'll cover a few marketing things, and then Rob has an amazing Robot Quest Arena prototype to show.
So good.
Well, not prototype.
Yeah, actually, the actual production
hot off
copy,
the press. And we are speaking with two members from the Hero Realms community, and we're going to talk about Hero Realms Dungeons. So it's going to be so much cool stuff.
Yeah, so we used to, during COVID, we were doing this every week, Wizard Weekly. It's kind of become Wizard whenever now that the pandemic's calmed down a bit. But we've got a lot of cool stuff to cover because we haven't done this in a little bit.
Yeah, and as always, ask any questions that you like. Sometimes we'll wait till we get done with the current topic before we answer questions. So because we have a couple of guests, some of the questions we may save until after we meet with the guests, just so that, they can manage their time since we're already starting a half hour late. So a couple quick things. We are going to Gamma next week. So Gamma is our trade show where a lot of retailers and all of our distribution partners will be there. And so that's always an exciting show for us, just to get to see everyone in the industry and do business meetings. And then after that, next up will be Origins and UK Games Expo. Yep. So I know that I've been asked by a few people about tournaments. So we are doing Hero Realms and Star Realms Legend Series at Origins, and we're submitting as well for UK Games Expo. I don't have final confirmation, but they said, they think that we'll be able to work that out. So I expect that we will have that. That show's in Birmingham. And if you're not familiar with England, you can fly in. If you ever wanted to go to London, you can fly into London and take the train, and it goes right into the convention center. So it's actually relatively convenient to get to if you're not familiar with England, as far as conventions go. So, and that's it's more like an Origin size show, I would say. Would you think
the UK Games Expo is a great show. A lot of fun. We're going to be there. We're going to be at Origins. We're going to be at Gen Con, and we're going to be at Spiel. So we've got 2 US and 2 overseas conventions coming up soon. So really looking forward to seeing everybody at the shows. And at Origins and Gen Con, we're going to have sort of that sort of permanent event space thing going on. So that'll be that'll be a lot of fun. So once you find
you can hang out there.
Yeah. Once you find the Wise Wizard Games HQ, we're going to have, we'll have events constantly going on in that space. So
PAX East was a lot of fun. We got to see a lot of our friends, so that was awesome. And I wanted to congratulate Larry as the new and repeat Hero Realms Legend Series champion, and also David Logvin, who won the Star Realms tournament.
Nicely done,
Planeswalker. It's I guess it's called a Realms Walker.
Realms Walker, he's won. He's won both a Hero Realms and a Star Realms Legend Series. So if we come out with another Realms game, do you think they have to win a third tournament?
I think they lose.
Or is there a title above Realms Walker?
I mean, we could run some Cthulhu Realms tournaments. Bring up the level that you need to do to win. And actually, David was actually recommended. I was like, hey, we want to talk about the Hero Realms Dungeons app and the changes and the playtest that's been going on, and all the changes. And and David recommended the 2 community members that we have joining us today. So I'll mention it's Scrap Force and Double Dubs, if anyone's wondering who we have, because I know we posted that we were including a couple community members.
You can spam them with challenges, make their phones ding.
Yeah. So do you want to get to the hero?
Yeah.
Production copy?
So we have Robot Quest Arena is basically done at the factory. So the way the process works, we submit files, we get proofs, they go back and forth, we get the pre-production proofs, which we showed off a while back, which is like, okay, this is sort of the final version, but it's made on smaller machines that they can set up for like an individual print. And then once we approve that, they go into the mass production where they're printing thousands and thousands and thousands of games at the same time on the big machines. So so that's the final stuff, and they get it all, and then they assemble a copy of the game. So taking, all the different components that they printed, put it together, shrink wrap it, send it to us. It looks exactly like it will when you get it as a Kickstarter backer, or if you pick it up off the shelf at a store. And then we check it out and make sure, okay, did they put all the right things in the box? Is this how we want it laid out? And once we approve that, they start assembling all the stuff. So that is where we're at. A couple weeks ago, we gave them we got the mass production copy. We gave them the green light, and they are now assembling all the stuff that they've already printed. So what I'm showing you is exactly the final stuff, exactly what you'll be getting. So
I just want to see the minis. I don't need to see anything else.
All right. So first off, we have so this is the Robot Quest Arena box. Beautiful box. It's Kallax size, so it fits. It fits on a Kallax nicely. Yay. And it's got the little thumb cuts here to open, and it's a really nice feeling solid box. And I'm gonna pop this open, and basically you can see when the box is open, you got the rule book on top, and it's a nice big full color book. You guys will have seen this in like the Kickstarter updates, but it's a beautiful book with
on that book, Dan the Meek was hoping to see a playthrough with the final rule.
Oh yeah, that's
probably not on this stream, but we can do that.
So you got your punch board with all the tiles that come in the base game. So you got your spawn tiles, your walls, and all the specialty tiles in the game. And then the board comes folded up, and all this stuff is just nicely layered in. So as I pull stuff off, you got the layers, and then this folds out is in 6 times. I'm not going to fold it out all the way, but you can see the board's quite big. This is 1/3 of it. So as it
really easy to fold up, though. I like how it folds
when you get it on the table. It just it folds up very nicely. And once you've got that off, you can see the stuff on the inside. Now I've added a little bit here. So for example, I threw some packs of Robot Quest Arena sleeves in here. So the Robot Quest Arena sleeves are done, and they are at the the sleeves are already at the fulfillment centers around the world. So the games will catch up with those. So if you ordered sleeves, we've got those. And you can see we've got like a foam block here to keep the cards and stuff in place. So if you got all the Kickstarter stuff, you bought the high level, and you take all the cards and you put them in with sleeves, there's enough room for all of them in that row. If you're not using all of them, or you're not using sleeves or whatever, you can use that foam block to keep things in position.
Brain Games had a question for you.
Yeah.
How do you design inserts?
So
very carefully.
So basically, so there's like I have the functionality that I have in mind, and I like sketch out in my beautiful stick figure level drawing where everything's going to go. I'm usually like using graph paper and measuring stuff out, and like, okay, I want it like this. And then Randy Delvin is one of our high level graphic designers who he works with among other things 3D modeling programs, and he'll take my sort of chicken scratch and he'll map that out 3-dimensionally in there, and he's familiar with the tolerances that how much space you need, between sections and such for the plastic to hold up, etc. He's got, from experience working on these before, he has some knowledge of that. And so he'll make a 3D model of that and send that. Then we send that to the factory. And then the engineers at the factory look at what we've done and are like, oh, yeah, this part won't work, or that, like the plastic, you're stretching the plastic too much, trying to do too much in this area, whatever. So they'll tweak it, and we go back and forth with the factory, and then we get samples. So it's an iterative process that may be more than you wanted to know, but that's how the design of these goes. But yeah, you can see we've got areas for a nice well for the cards up there, and then down here we've got a well for the tiles. So basically, here's these tiles that are in here are from the Kickstarter exclusive pack. So I've got extra tiles in there, but you can see, tiles go right in here with the foam block. Again, if you got all the Kickstarter stuff, this tile section will be filled up. But if you don't want to keep all of it in the box, you can use the foam block to stabilize it. And then in this section up here, we've got the player boards. So basically, for each of the bots, you have one of these boards, and they're nice hard material, and it basically gives you a landing zone for your bot when it's knocked out. When you've taken enough damage to get knocked out, you put it on here until your next turn. Shows you this is where your health cubes go, and the wrenches show you how many health cubes, and then your bot's special ability is listed there. So those are look cool and are useful in the gameplay. And then underneath where those go, we have sections for the various cubes, and they'll come in little bags. And we've got the red cubes, the blue cubes, and the red gems. Each of those has a little well in here, and then we've got a mini well for the figures, which is down here. And for transportation, and if you just have the base set, you've got this like plastic insert that just holds the minis in place. And I'll take that out and show you these individual minis. So here is Deb's favorite, Pug. So cute. And then we've got Petri here.
Brain Games is saying we need a top-down camera. You're really assuming a lot of technical capability here, but we have done that for our live playthroughs when we do those setups. But we have been reorganizing the game room upstairs, so I want to try to set up a better streaming location up there.
Strider. These minis are they're big. They feel really good, and the plastic they're made out of is a little bit flexible. Like when when I first got Crate out of the box, his antenna was bent over a little bit, and I could just move it over. They have a really nice feel. It's not the brittle plastic that our demo models were made out of with 3D. It's not like the brittle 3D printed stuff. So these are very sturdy. We did a bunch of testing with these. Yeah, they feel like toys. And we did a bunch of testing with these, we ended up doing things like thickening the legs on Pug, and putting a little plastic, little support line on Strider's legs to make sure that these were pretty tough. So obviously they're little plastic things. They're not indestructible, but as far as game components go, they're pretty tough, and quite tough enough to be just put into this section without the plastic if you want. And then you've got lots of room if you get more robots down the line. If you wanted to be safer with your minis or whatever, you could get egg carton foam and cut it out to the space and put it in there. But basically, unless you're shaking this thing around for a long time, just for moving around a little bit, those minis will be just fine in there. So that's the base set, and everything came out great. And then we've got 3 robot packs. So we've got Dozer, Jaws, and Kettle. as robot packs. And these, this is how you get it. And these are designed, these packaging is designed for retail stores. So basically they can put it onto a hang peg, or it's got a flat base here, so they can like set it on a shelf if that works better for them. And a consumer looking at it, you can see the robot in the front and the gems you get over here. And if you turn it around, you can see, oh yeah, it comes with tiles, it comes with cards, it comes with a player board. And these containers basically pop open, but they can also be resealed. So like I've opened these before and resealed it. So if you want to keep them and store your minis in those, you totally can. Or as I said, there's room in the box. You get more gems with it. We got you got the new bots in there, and then each one comes with a.
Kettle reminds me of a combination of Wally and something from Big Hero 6.
There's you got your player board. You've got some new tiles. So, for example, Kettle comes with portals. So portals, if you step into one, you pop out of another. And every one of these comes with a new spawn point tile, so you can set up on the board, the spawn points for as many bots as you're playing with.
Oh, total number of players with the expansions. That was a question someone asked.
So so you can go up to 7. It's probably more than I would like, to play with. I think
sounds kind of fun, actually.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, one nice thing about Robot Quest Arena is the more the merrier. When you get a bunch of robots on the board, you can do crazy stuff. It's just a question of how long do you want to wait in the cycle until your next turn. I think, like, I probably personally would stop at 6, but the way the game is mechanically set up, you can just keep adding players by adding spawn points. We'll probably make some bigger boards in the future for that. And then, of course, you've got new cards that come with the deck. So you get a starting deck for each new robot, and then specialty cards for with mechanics for that particular bot, like the defense cards that come with Kettle. And then we also have in there some rule cards that tell you how the new stuff that comes in those works. So that is Robot Quest Arena. As I said, it is done at the factory, so we are in the process of arranging shipping to our fulfillment centers worldwide. This is basically your last chance to update your shipping address and that sort of thing if that's changed. And then obviously worldwide shipping, dealing with customs in different places around the world. We've had a lot of trouble in Europe in our past few shipments. Hopefully we've got those things worked out, but basically times will vary. So probably my guess is that the Australians will get this first because their proximity to the factory in China. But we'll be posting updates as stuff ships, and we have like port dates, etc. And then of course it's got to clear customs, then go to the ship to the fulfillment center. Fulfillment center has to in-process the shipment, unpack everything, then start boxing it up for individual backers and ship it out to those backers. So basically my best guess is that we will have that stuff basically this summer. That's going to be going out to backers probably in the June-July timeframe, and we're targeting August for release to the general public. So that is Robot Quest Arena. We're super excited about it. Game's crazy fun. It's been a huge hit when we've been demoing it at conventions. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely do so.
Are you 100% sure that the gameplay is designed to ensure that CJ will not win? Well, I don't know. Bob always beats me.
CJ is pretty good. Yeah. So he will. Yeah. Like if you're battling CJ, I'm sorry, you will probably lose a lot of games because he's
Kevin. Say hi to Meg too. Our friends that moved to Florida from Boston. Seems to be a popular move.
And as you can see, you can reseal it if you want to. So for those who like to put stuff on shelves and make them look cool, you can keep your stuff in those original containers if you feel like it. So you don't have to throw them away.
Logistics of game delivery could be a resource management game.
Yes,
yeah.
It could. Yeah,
I wouldn't want to play that game. It's not that fun for me. That would be like a game on like dentistry or something,
So covering some, I'm going to touch base on our various Kickstarters really quickly. And obviously, if you have other questions, you can always ask them in the comments. So Sorcerer Endbringer, all the files are at the printer, and basically we're doing like color correction for ink saturation on printing and that sort of thing. So basically, the engineers at the factory are tweaking colors and such at this point. So so we're very close to the green light on that one. The Rise of Empire, we've been doing blind playtesting. So we've created kits that look like this. Super professional, with mock-ups of all the Rise of Empire stuff in there. It's got the rule book in there, various envelopes, all basically as close to how the final product is presented as we can mock up at home. And we're basically giving that to friends and such to play through without any input from us. They're filming their games, and then we're checking that out and making sure, okay, where do they have questions, which they're getting confused on this, on this part of this scenario, etc. So we've gotten a bunch of feedback on that. We're nearing the end of that process, and then once that's done, we're going to do another internal editing pass to take in, basically address any issues that we found during the blind play test, and then it's going to be getting the factory to work on the pre-production proofs. So Rise of Empires coming along really well. We're very excited. And then let's see, as I mentioned, we did have some significant shipping issues in Europe, stuff held in customs wildly overcharging us on VAT, all kinds of crazy stuff. But basically, we're in the process of delivering the last of the Kapow and Deluxe Nova Collection to regions where we had snags and hiccups with customs and such. And then finally, Here Realms Dungeons. We are continuing our beta testing in the app. We've have basically anybody who is a legend level backer in the app has access to new characters, the new market, higher level characters, where we're testing stuff that will be coming in the adventure decks for the original 5 characters, etc. And we have done a bunch of testing on the base set of the Dungeons base set, and the Barbarian and the Alchemist, which were the first ones in. And then we are in the digital team is actually currently in the process of putting the Druid into the beta. So if you are a beta tester soon, you will have access to the Druid. And that development process has been going really well. We've gotten a ton of games. We get feedback from you guys directly, which is great, but also importantly, I can see the stats on win percentages for each of the classes versus other classes at every level, what percentage of the time various things are picked, what the win percentages of each individual item and skill and ability are, etc. So tons of data there. So shall we move on to Hero Realms? Do you want to answer a couple questions first?
I think we can move on to Hero Realms. there's a couple questions we'll take at the end because
Awesome.
we got guests on here, so I'm gonna add them in here. Welcome, Sam and
Hey
Chris.
guys.
Hey everybody.
Thank you for patiently waiting. These guys have been in the back room for quite a while, so they've been watching me pontificate on various stuff for a bit.
And they were here for our technical challenges.
Yes, there may have been like an hour of technical
They got
challenges.
to meet Mateo, our guy in the chair who's behind the scenes here.
Yeah, everyone was lovely. It was a really nice experience. It was nice to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having us on today.
Yep.
So first off, I want to give you guys, thank you guys very much for coming. I want to give you the floor a little bit for you guys to talk about whatever you want to talk about Hero Realm stuff, and then I'm gonna talk about like the changes and get your feedback on that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing we want to shout out, of course, is the realmsrising.com website. It's just like a really great landing page for all the different community things that we have going on. So if I was to highlight some of the different community things, we have a Discord server with about 450 people on it right now. And on that Discord server, there's, tons of offerings as well, but bring it more back to the website. If you go to realmsrising.com, you can get invited to the Discord server. You can check out all of the different strategy articles that have been written over the time since the Hero Realms Digital has been out. We also have a collection of all the different podcasts that are being made. There was Ambroser's Realms Rising, which was he's not currently making episodes of it, but the backlog is all still there. And then we have Sparks and Rec podcasts up there, which we are coming up. We're interviewing Larry tonight on the podcast.
Oh, fantastic.
And
Yep.
yeah, it's going to be awesome talking to him about his win. And then we will be doing our 30th episode after that is in the near future. And we're up to about like 6,000 downloads. So those are some of the things. Yeah. And then we also have all of our community events are listed on the realmsrising.com webpage under a community events page. I would love to get the chance to kind of break down what some of those individual events are, just so you can hear a little bit of like how we're playing the game. I think wow, hi everybody in chat, by the way. Appreciate everyone saying hello and stuff. That's awesome. But basically, like, there is a lot of different formats that the community has come up with for playing the game. And so there's like Tavern Brawl, which is somewhat similar to Dodgeball in the sense that there's like a team and you like draft the team, but it's a little different than scoring, so I won't get too far into that. But then you have 5 players on the team, 1 for each of the base classes, and you nominate who is going to go first for your team. So like, oh, we're going to put up our Ranger first. And then the other team's like, oh, they put up Ranger. How should we answer that? So then there's this interesting counterplay of going back and forth between the 2 different teams that are matched up. So then everybody plays everybody, and then there's like a little 4-game playoff at the end. And there's even like a community created lore that goes with that in Thandar that has been posted to the Realms Rising website. So that's just like, one of the examples. I'll stop there for a second. Sam, did you have anything that you wanted to throw in?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Those are awesome. I would just want to support the community being amazing. I joined the Discord first after finding the Realms Rising website, and that was all during COVID. And for me, it was a great source of social interaction and just a way to be a part of something. I've never been into competitive gaming, but after doing all of that, I started. And Tavern Brawl was actually my first event, and it was really fun. So yeah, I would encourage anyone who hasn't given it a shot, join us. We're really, it's really a fun community. Everyone's really supportive and welcoming, and we will love to take you on, help you learn the game, play challenges with you whenever you want. So +1 for that, for sure.
Yeah, and you definitely do not have to be a competitive person to enjoy the community, the site, etc. I mean, there's definitely people who are working on improving their game and their win percentages and stuff, but people are just fun. They, the community is very welcoming, and it doesn't matter if you win most of your games, lose most of your games. Like it's a fun place to interact with people, find people to play games with, etc. So
yeah, 100%. The other thing I wanted to shout out too really quickly is we have a few fun tech projects that are happening on the side that are driven 100% by community volunteer power. One is a website called herohelper.com that you can log into and track your win percentage and also get some stats on community wins and loss percentages and stuff like that. And then also our podcast co-host Agency 13 Tim McKenzie is developing. It's in the early alpha stages, but he's developing a bot for our Discord channel to help run a different league called the Thandar Combat League. So it's going to help, ease the overhead and make it easy to keep track and report your wins and losses and see where you're at and who your next opponent is and stuff like that. So that should be really fun too.
And like we love at Wise Wizard Games, we love the community being so active and fun, and we try to for both Star Realms and Hero Realms add features to the app to make the stuff that the community is doing a little bit easier, etc. So for example, in Star Realms, even though we have tournaments that are within the app where you can sign up, etc., the community was running tournaments before that, and we totally wanted to keep supporting those. So like we added like the ability to, when you challenge someone, to say what it's for, whether it's like, for a tournament or for fun or whatever. So when you got a challenge coming in, when you were like, while you were playing in a tournament, you would know, oh wait, this is the tournament game. I gotta, I gotta be ready for this one. So, and that sort of thing, we are super open to. Like the digital team has a lot going, but we will certainly add, add features to, make that sort of thing easier and more fun for the fan run events as well. So yeah, like that stuff is just super cool.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
and actually, there's one other important thing we haven't mentioned yet, I don't think, which is Chris, you have a stream, don't you?
Oh, right. How do we not mention?
I know.
Twitch.tv/doubledubs, as spelled in the name on the screen there. I'm sure a lot of people already tuned in. We have a lot of fun. It's Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Central. The most hilarious memory I have so far is when I was going to hit affiliate status. I think Deb hopped in on the Wise Wizard account, and I was in like a ridiculous Australian cosplay, which is a really funny,
wonderful.
I was like,
first
look,
impression.
what's happening here?
Yeah.
Chris was like, "Good day, mate." The whole
Yeah, so we've had other cosplays since then and other fun things, and I'm going to be coming up on stream 50 sometime in the summer, so we'll certainly have something exciting in store for stream number 50, but definitely come check it out on the weekly. We have a good time.
And I want to jump in really quick to say, if you are learning, one of the things that I think Chris is exceptional at is talking through his choices and what he's going to do and why he's going to do it. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening in the chat a lot of times, which can be distracting and also really fun. But for the most part, if you're trying to pick up some strats, Chris is a great teacher in that way and brings you along.
I appreciate that, Sam, and definitely encourage people to like engage and ask questions. I know we get people, asking like, well, why did you do it that way? Or like, why was your sequencing like that? And I'm always happy to take the opportunity to like dive into, 'cause it's like stuff we maybe take for granted. Like, oh, I wanted to get that in for this deck shuffle, or I wanted to make sure that missed the shuffle. Matthew, yeah, I know he's one of the guys that's in there and asking questions, so I appreciate that. Bork has it right. Come for the strategy, stay for the joke. Absolutely, guys. So appreciate the kind words by all. Thank you so much.
Great.
And we play physical plugs as well as digital to answer brain games there for sure, but definitely more digital. It's a lot easier to obviously fire up the game than to get a play group together, but love to play physical when we have the chance.
Yep,
absolutely.
Yeah, we have your first sub here.
It's true.
Yes.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you.
It's good you mentioned it because this person never heard of it.
I know him in real life. He
lies. He's a liar.
I knew he was kidding, and I like that everyone could joke around with each other.
Oh yeah.
So as a game designer and game developer, I am really excited about what we're doing with the dungeons content with Hero Realms Digital.
Yes.
So some games have a relatively small number of avenues to pursue, and you can very thoroughly play test with a reasonable size group internally, just play through every possibility and make sure everything's matching what your expectations on how plays goes. Hero Realms is not one of those games. Like, the base game is very simple, very easy to learn, but when you add in the characters and you add in the leveling and you add in all the choices with the skill trees and the ability trees and those treasure choices as you level up, and you let people play different matchups of this class versus that class, and you let people play higher and lower level opponents, etc., the number of potential matchups, possibilities, etc., gets absurdly large. With the original Hero Realms game and the leveling content, etc., that we put in Ruin of Thandar, we did all the testing internally, and I was actually pretty happy with how close we got to balance on the level 1 through 12 progression for the characters. We did have to make some tweaks to digital as we were getting some play, but it was fairly close. But boy, is what we're doing now so much better. Where basically we are taking our the stuff that we've designed for these new characters, and we are putting it into the beta, and we have thousands of legend tier backers of the Hero Realms app. So we knew that these guys were super into the game and willing to come in at that backing level and help the game, help the digital game come into existence. So we've basically given them the sandbox of, okay, we're putting the new characters in here, and basically, if you're playing beta games, one, things may break because we're putting in new content continuously, and two, while we play tested it some internally, the balance is not finalized. So basically, we're encouraging our legend backers to play lots of games and try different stuff, and we automatically capture all the data on all the games, so we know like the win percentages for every class, etc. And we put in the Alchemist and the Barbarian first. Those are the ones that'll come in the Dungeons box set itself. So it was a great place for us to start. And new classes were a lot of fun. Unfortunately, balance was a little bit off. So the Barbarian was the worst offender. The Barbarian, once we got a large pool of data, the Barbarian was coming in at about a 70% win percentage, which is definitely well into red flag territory. So in a perfect world, everything would boil down to about a 50% win percentage. So that as much as possible, it's the choices that the player makes in the skill and etc. It's fine that there may be some advantageous matchups, like, oh, I picked this skill and that'll help me versus fighters or whatever choices you made. So some variance is totally fine, but when you're looking at the big picture, oh, well, what's my matchup versus the world? We want that to be as close to 50% as possible for a class. And basically, the Barbarian was coming in at like in the 70% range, and the Alchemist was close to 60. So both came in a little too hot on the original design, which is a common problem because you're pushing the boundaries a little bit when you're doing the initial design. And in small game sample sizes, like when you're dealing with tens of games, Dart and I get to the point where each of us is winning some. I'm beating you sometimes with the Wizard, you're beating me sometimes with the Barbarian. It's totally fine. But then when we get like the thousands of games being played, and we see, oh wait, actually, when you like put this in a bunch of players' hands and through tons and tons of games, we can see these win percentages being off. So we are making tweaks to the card. So we're doing the balance in the app, and that's fantastic because basically we can, we're doing like every couple days the Darwin and CJ and I are meeting and discussing the new, discussing the new stuff, making tweaks, etc. And then, every couple of weeks, the digital team will push up some changes to the app. And I'm very excited in the direction we've gotten the Barbarian and the Alchemist in the 50s, basically low 50s win percentage, win percentile, and also, taking a deep dive into this data. We've also, are making some tweaks to some of the original classes as well. We've been doing that all along, but as we're gathering more classes to compare them to, we get more data to tweak. So I'm gonna throw up some stuff here to show, and we can talk about it briefly. So so the first thing, Wizard players will be very excited about this. We are something we've done before, and we're actually going back to based on the data we're getting from these additional classes. One of the Wizards' gold on their starting deck is going to be switched for a ruby. The Wizard was coming in the one with these new classes added. And, after we've gotten these tweaks with, getting the Barbarian and the Alchemist about where we want them to be, the Wizard was coming in at low 40s win percentage, which is lower than we want. So we went back and forth on this change. We made it previously. Win percentage got a little higher than I was comfortable with. But I think with this new meta and these new characters coming in, and like the challenges, for example, that the Barbarian presents for the Wizard, etc. I think that we basically want to try this again and see if this gets us to an acceptable area for the Wizard. If the Wizard comes in a little too high with this change, we may make a modification. But yes, we're soon in the app. The Wizard's going to have a ruby. We're going to, as we gather more data from the new classes, we're going to see where the win percentages boils down, and this change may or may not become permanent. Like the change to the Cleric's Mace, which used to just give combat and now gives combat and gold. So we're excited about that change. We're testing higher levels in the beta. So basically, in the main app, the level cap is 12. It's moving to 14 with the the new set that came out in the app. But that level cap's going to keep on increasing. It's going to go to 16, 18, etc., all the way to eventually up to level 24. And one of the newer treasures are the trick dice. It was previously draw 2 cards, then discard one of those 2. We are changing it to draw 2 cards and then discard a card, so you could discard a gold that was previously in the hand. So if the top 2 cards of your deck are fantastic, then you can you can keep both of them and discard something else. So basically, trying to make the trick dice a little more attractive choice and up the win percentage for those who pick trick dice to be acceptable. So there's 2 things that we're trying to do with the areas we're trying to balance. We're trying to balance how often people choose each one, and also the win percentages on each one. So in some cases, we're trying to make things more fun, and in other cases, we're trying to tweak the win percentage. And this was a scenario where the card needed a power boost to be competitive. This is just a typo correction. You can tell that there are some Magic the Gathering players on the team.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then this is the Cutlass change. But before I get into this one, because this one's a little bit tricky, what are your guys' thoughts on the gold change and the dice change?
Sure. I think so. With the gold change, I think it's going to help a ton, especially at lower levels. The one thing that I think is going to possibly happen is that after you get ship in a bottle, you're going to be really strong. And so we may see my prediction is we'll see a little bit of a ship in a bottle nerf to help counteract that. But I think it's going to help you a lot at the lower levels with Wizard.
Wiz can get a lot of econ if you have Alchemist Stone, Silver Skull Amulet, the Ruby now, and the Ship in a Bottle. One thing I have a question about is if you've ever considered a second spell components for the Wizard.
We have. So basically, that's a definite possibility. If we can get the balance in Ruby, I would prefer to.
Sure.
Partially because it's easier for the physical players out there who have the old version. They can grab
Just
a
get
Ruby, from one of their other decks and like from one of the starting decks and just throw it in there. So now that's not that big a deal. Obviously, we made a change to the mace in the cleric, which which they have to just know it or write it in or whatever. But yeah, absolutely, second spell components is in the running.
A possible middle ground.
Yeah, as a possible middle ground. We may go to the second spell component as a possibility.
Cool. And then the trick dice, that is
amazing.
It was competing against Hook, right? Which Hook lets you draw a card or discard a card. The flexibility in that is amazing. There's lots of great synergies there and stuff. So definitely seeing the trick dice upgraded here, it makes it much more of a contender to pick. So I think that was another very interesting choice that I'm excited about, as chat was as well.
Yeah, I think that one gives you a few more avenues as far as what build you want to choose. Either like more discard heavy if you want to be more combative, or if you want to try to be more econ focused and get a better deck going fast, which is great.
Yeah, and we really love having different build options for people so they can basically you can play the same character multiple times and have sort of different play experiences as you choose different stuff as you go along. All right, so Cutlass. This is one. It's a little painful for me because my original design on Cutlass I really loved thematically. It was like, okay, you got this sword and you can like swashbuckler movie style throw it to a friend and they can catch it and they can keep they can fight with it. So basically the card is a little it was a little bit underpicked and underperforming, and also there are some challenges in how to represent that in physical. I had basically the way I was planning on representing it was when the champion dies, you set the champion aside and you put the Cutlass in the discard pile representing the champion. And then, when you draw the Cutlass again and play it, you take your champion and put it underneath. So it was doable, but it was a little clunky. Right now we're going to be adding we're going to be changing it to the swashbuckler. So changing it to a champion, which gives you 3 combat, 2 defense, but has a really interesting sacrifice ability to stun all opposing expended champions, which is cool. One, because the swashbuckling sword itself will expend an opposing champion, so it's obviously great for getting past guards and just getting some damage in. But it also is expending a champion, so you could sacrifice it to stun basically anything and get 3 combat. But if you're expending multiple guys using your shoulder bash abilities or various cards in the game that expend champions, this could combo very powerfully. So fun change there. And I think this one
they added the option you don't have to choose anything for that initial expendability.
Yes,
you can choose none if you wanted.
And then going into the Barbarian changes, we have we'll pause for a second. So thoughts on the new swashbuckler sword? Is it something you're looking forward to trying out with your fighters?
Absolutely. One thing that strikes me right away that I want to shout out is I love the frame on the swashbuckler on the right. I really like how that looks. With
so we have different frames in the game representing champions, items, etc. So here, since we were changing it from a item to a champion, it got the fighter frame. So yeah, our graphic designers went a little bit crazy with your realms.
Yes.
But yeah, we got a lot of cool frames, and you can sort of, I think, for me, as I play a game, these little subtle things that you might not necessarily consciously notice, your brain picks up on when you're sort of seeing the edge of the card in your hand or whatever, sort of recognizing, oh, I've got a champion here. So yeah, it's a nice little touch that
Nice.
that I enjoy.
Yep. I have to admit, I was a little scared because I did really like the card as it was. And we had some teasers like, oh, there's a change coming, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, oh, I don't know what it's going to be. But for me, the discard ability, or the trash ability, I should say, really is great. I love that. And I'm really excited to try it out. So yeah, I'm happy about Swashbuckler
So
now.
we'll see where it goes. It's possible we may move back and save this mechanic for for a later day. But yeah, I'm excited to give it a shot. All right, let's talking about how we got the Barbarian from their 70% win percentage down to back down to where the land of the mere mortals in the 50s range. So when we were looking at those win percentages, I knew that we were going to have to do something global to the Barbarian to bring it down, because it was just significantly too high. And it was high at all levels, so it wasn't a matter of, oh, this item needs a little tweak, that item needed a little tweak. So we needed to work on something fundamental, like the market, like their starting deck, or the skill and skills and abilities. So here, what we did was going berserk is such a fundamental part of playing a barbarian, and basically, with all the original design, had you drawing 2 cards when you went berserk, and basically throughout the tree, we've reduced that from 2 cards down to 1 card. So basically, on previous effects, you were drawing 2, and then we moved those to we moved those sort of across the board down to a drawing 1. That really pulled us much closer to where we needed to be. Obviously, when you're play testing through this stuff, it can be pretty painful, because like, hey, I was used to drawing 2 and now I'm only drawing 1 when I do this. So that can hurt. But for new users who come in and like they pick up the Barbarian pack for the first time, either in the app or physically, they'll just see where it is. So it's and we're trying to get those win percentages matched up. So
they'll never know what
you guys
they were
play
missing.
both before and after this change.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the one thing I'll say is that like there still exists an option on the tree if you go to the far right that you can still draw to, but you just take like the most damage off that. And I think that like at least from the competitive scene, it feels like there's a fairly strong consensus to just choose that option.
Yeah, that actually we've I don't know if it's in yet, but that has been nerfed down to a draw 1 as well, and we back down on the other side. So yeah, basically we saw that everybody was just like, okay, well, I'll migrate to this path.
Yeah, like we'll just
to punish that path a little bit with the damage you took, etc. But drawing the extra card was just so good, and so we can see that. Oh, look, everybody's choosing that one, and that one has the big win percentages. Now it's a little bit. You get a little bit of data corrupted by player base. So if top players decide A is better than B, then you get the top players pick A. And because they're the top players, they're very skilled, and they win with whatever you give them. They're going to win a little more than they would win with anything else. So if there's a consensus among the top players, whether or not they're correct on that initial consensus, you will start seeing some data shifts just because of their play skill. So sometimes you'll make changes, and then some high-level player will decide they want to try something, and they'll go some different direction. They'll be like, oh, this really works, and they'll tell their friends about it, and then you'll suddenly see a weird shift in data when you haven't made any changes. So there's a little bit of that, but yes, everybody, the consensus was, go for the draw 2 tree. We don't want that. We want there to be, sort of as even a distribution of choices as possible, and of course getting the the win percentage, where it is. So bad news, barbarians. That angle's going to go away for your high level barbs. So
on that note, one of our high level players who kind of has a reputation for figuring out those other possible builds, DeCat says meow, as we say it. Alex Rogers,
Darklighter just
awesome
mentioned.
Guy.
That's funny.
Yeah, pretty much. That's right. So he posted to me on our Discord a build that he's been using that uses the -1 health version, and he's like, I just leave it on. He's like, I just take the -1 health and I just have a pimped out deck, and he's got like swashbuckler's boots and some other stuff like that. So that's another possible build that's going to be coming out. But the other thing that's really fun about being a part of the beta is that it's always changing. And so you guys make a change, and we have to kind of react to it and figure out what's the new, and then kind of go with that and see what works. And there's a lot of experimentation and stuff.
And when we push these changes in, we let you guys reallocate if you like, so that it, basically you can try out different builds as we muck around.
That hasn't been happening as much lately, actually, and it's something that I think would be welcome from a playtesting perspective. I think that character rerolls will allow people to try more strategies.
Yeah, and that's one of the
100%.
things. So basically, there is something we're going to be putting into the app in general. So basically, we'll talk about new features a little bit later, but this one I think is relevant to the current discussion, which is we're going to be adding like a training room where basically you can spend gems to pay a trainer. Game mechanics wise, you can redo your skill and ability choices for a certain number of gems. So obviously, a player can just get to max level naturally, take a prestige point, and go through again. So if you want to, take the, pay the iron price, you can go, you can redo your character as many times as you like using using that method. But if you just want to be like, I want to revamp my character, throw some gems at it, you'll be able to, and not a huge amount, probably like 50 cents worth of gems or something like that. And you can respec your entire character to try something new. Of course, if you are a legend level backer, you're going to be able to do this as much as you want because you'll have infinite gems. So basically respecking, and of course in the beta, well, everybody in there's a legend backer, so you guys will get to respec as much as you want, which will be cool for testing purposes. So that is something that we are
You also have a request in the comments for I think what they're asking for is the ability to change the avatar after you've created the character.
You can in the customize menu. Yeah. Come to my stream, Brain Games. I'll show you how to do it. or hit us up on Discord and I'll send you a screenshot. But basically, when you go to new game, select hero, when you go to your hero, there's a customize button, and you should be able to change your avatar from there along with your background. And some preview of some upcoming it's a shameless plug, Cash. You know it. There's some cosmetics in the future of animations for, I think, attack and refill animations that are on the horizon. They're locked right now.
But
those are some exciting things that seem to be coming up.
Yes. All right. Let's see here. So we've got all right. So Alchemist also was too high in the win percentage, and again needed sort of a fundamental tweak to get the percentages in the right ballpark. I loved the original frothing potion. Hey, I love drawing cards. Who doesn't? So basically, the original one is if you had 2 or more cards of the same faction in play, draw a card. We've changed that to if you have 2 more cards in the same faction in play, get +2 combat. So obviously, additional combat is great. Thematically, not a problem at all because whipping up potions and blowing stuff
up.
It's
a stronger potion.
So totally works thematically. And this was, basically the fundamental power level decrease to bring the win percentages, down the, the 8 percentage points or so that we were looking for to, to get the Alchemist in, in the right zone.
Well, there was a middle iteration that let you draw a card and discard a card. Was that also seen as too powerful? And
it was yeah. Basically, that was my mid step. And
wanted that one to work, but
yeah, I wanted it to work. It wasn't
Yep.
enough. So yeah, this card draw is the scariest thing in deck builders as far as like just power level. And the more skilled the player, the more use they can make of card draw. So you just got to be very, very careful of it. And that was so yeah, I too really wanted that to work, but being able to dish out more damage obviously has its benefits as well. So while while power decrease, it you still have the incentive to get those alignments going
and stuff.
And then the other thing was basically lowering the boost level of the various transformations. So basically, 1 gold taken off of every transformation across the board to bring things down in power level. And I personally have a lot of fun with the transformation effects. I don't know, your guys' thoughts on that mechanic, but that one's just
they reminded us of Smooth Heist on the Thief a little bit in the way that it can like really accelerate your economy. I felt like the way that they existed in their previous iteration was that you just wanted to like use it right away to try to get the most powerful thing you could in your first shuffle. But I feel like with bringing them back a little bit, you're a little more incentivized to like buy a fire gem and cash in that fire gem for something a little bigger.
So that's something we really want to try to get to duality play, where it's like, okay, there isn't a automatic correct answer. That's always challenging to do. But basically, if you have a card where, the correct thing is you immediately sacrifice it on the first time you draw it in the game, every single time, that's not giving the player great choices. We want you to sit there and be like, should I do A? Should I do B? And for it to be different in different situations, and for a good player to be able to sort of see which one's more advantageous and get those little skill edges to be rewarded by. So yes, that's one of the things we were going for as well.
The other interesting thing too is I think I love the knock-on effect of doing these changes, because I think the change to rapid is going to make auric gloves a little more attractive, and so you might have some more people. I think right now the community consensus is that they'd rather have the spectrum spectacles, which are fantastic, of course, but if you can top deck a 4 gold card and then draw it right into your hand, that's like getting a better rapid almost, so you can use those abilities together, and so this will definitely help to that goal of having a more viable alternate build path to match up against different things.
And those combos with the different things you can do are one of the most exciting things from a design perspective, giving players the ability to try different combos and get different stuff to work. Obviously you have to be cautious of it, because sometimes those combos can be too strong. But yes, that's it's a lot of fun. And then we're making a bunch of changes to cards. So a design thing that we tried and I just do not like, decided I just didn't like the way it played, was they had a lot of cards which were draw and then sacrifice for a very specific circumstance. Felt a little bit like busy work, and a little too obvious when you should do the thing. So we, in general, there's a whole bunch of cards, most of which you guys haven't seen yet, where we had this type of mechanic going on and we switched it to a different mechanic. So here with the calibration crystal, we've got a draw 2 discard 1 effect instead of the old sacrifice effect that we had here. We nerfing, some of the barbarian nerfs came in the form of the treasure cards as well. So here we have
that one's not live yet. That one looks new to me.
Yeah. So some of these things are not in. Crushed coin. Here was a scenario where basically the correct answer was just get rid of this thing immediately. So we're making it not thin your deck and just be a source of extra combat. So again, sometimes the changes are because there's like only one correct play path and we want to avoid that scenario. Other time, and always we're keeping one eye on balance. So those are some examples of some of the tweaks that we've made. And obviously some in the app, some not in the app yet.
I made a mistake, by the way. That Amulet of Stifled Pain does look like it is live as you presented it on screen. Yeah. So that was my mistake.
Oh, no problem. But yeah, basically, we are this process is live. So one of the things that so we made in the Kickstarter, we had character packs and adventure decks for the physical game. This was a new thing. So when we originally made the game, we had all the stuff to level up the characters in the campaign itself. So in the Ruin of Thandar campaign, this worked just fine for the game at that time. But as the game has grown and we're adding new characters and we're going to add new campaigns that people can play through, etc., that model no longer worked, and we really needed to have all the stuff for a character leveling up and adventuring available as a separate unit. And since we were going to be doing that with the new characters, we wanted to do it with the old characters. So a new player coming into the game, we knew that, okay, if I get a character pack and an adventure deck for any character, I can then play that character through any campaign. And of course, since we're doing reprints on these items for this purpose, we're going to print whatever our latest stable version of these cards is and put it in. There was a lot of consternation on the Kickstarter of, oh my God, you're making me buy these new updated cards. And I was like, please don't buy them just to get the updated versions, because we will change stuff in the future if we need to balance out the game. Because as we add new classes, the meta is constantly changing. We're going to be adding ancestry. We're going to be adding new classes down the line, and something that appears balanced now might prove to be imbalanced when you're mixing it with a larger and larger pool of cards. So basically, Hero Realms is a living game. Stuff is going to change over time. As you can see, we're still fiddling around the edges with like the Wizard, for example, which is one of the oldest classes. So any your guys' thoughts on this process for the Barbarian and the Alchemist that you've been on the ride for?
So I think that like you guys have done an awesome job of capturing like two unique play styles that are fun to play. The thing that I really like about the Alchemist kind of captures one of the things I like about the game as a whole, which is that like you're always finding new contexts for analyzing the decisions that you're making based off of like what has been purchased so far and what your opponent has and what you're doing. So the Alchemist like flips all that on its head, and you're looking at everything in a totally new way because you have this way of factioning that you never did before. So the way that you're considering your purchases of how you can be like, wow, well, I think I can faction that pretty easily. So now I am going to want to buy that. You know, that's very active as the Alchemist player. But then even as you're playing against the Alchemist, it changes how you're looking at the row, because you're like, well, I would have bought that Direwolf, but they're going to faction that Rayla so easily, which means they're going to be able to draw a card. So I think I'm actually going to get Rayla here. So like just the way that the two classes really change how you play the game and change how you interact with it, I think is really great. And I also don't feel like they're like solved in any way. Like I feel like there's certain decision points when you're building the character that the community does lean one way or another, but with the current balance changes and just the discussions that we had leading into this stream that we had, it kind of became clear to me that there's no one set way that everyone thinks you should be building your barbarian or your alchemist. So I think that there's some really exciting things going on there. How about you, Sam?
I agree with that 100% on Alchemist. And just to dive a little deeper in on the barbarian side, one of the things that I've kind of noticed as I play through and work my way up the levels is that the barbarian can be a little rough because there's such an econ drain on you, and you always want to be berserking, right? As Decat said in the chat. So you have to really learn to balance that. And so learning those different play styles of the different characters can be really great. And sometimes the same hero type will have two different play styles even within the same hero type. So that's the kind of stuff that I really like to do. I really like to learn about that and talk about that with everyone in the community. So I think it's been extremely interesting to be exposed to that as a Legends backer. Really excited to have access to that stuff. And I think if anyone's listening that is on the fence, if you guys are going to offer it in future Kickstarters, I would recommend it to anyone. It's still pretty early in the game. We're going to go all the way up to level 24. So we're going to get a lot of options there. So
yeah, and this you know, as we make new stuff in the future, we're going to keep doing this testing. I'm loving how this testing is working out. It's so nice to be able to, if you're not a Legends backer, the great thing is all these players are doing this work for you to make the game you're going to get way better. And you can just sit back, enjoy the game as it is, and just, you know, get that new content. And yeah, and if you are a Legends backer and you don't feel like playing in the beta, you totally don't have to. Like, you can just ignore it and just play the regular games, because, you know, like, you know, playing with stuff that isn't necessarily working 100% or isn't balanced 100%, not for everybody. But for those of you who do want to test, fantastic to get that feedback, and it's helping make the game better for everybody. And this will mean way less edits in the future, because we're basically handling that low-hanging fruit, you know, finding those, oh well, okay, this class is, you know, is too good, too weak, etc. And we're getting to address that before printing the physical cards. So the physical cards will be much, much closer to a final version. Obviously, you know, stuff may change down the road as a new class comes in 2 years from now, might tweak. Oh, now, you know, the druid or, you know, or the monk is, you know, too weak or too strong or whatever. We may have to do, you know, little balance tweaks down the road, but the most of the stuff we're catching in this pass, which is, you know, which is phenomenal.
I do have one suggestion, if I may.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Some of the stuff that we've been hearing from our Legend backers is that they're sometimes confused by what you guys are doing, right? Like, I heard a lot, why are they touching the bet list? It's great as it is. And now we know, right? Yeah. So I don't know if there's a possibility for this or not. If not, it's fine. We totally understand you guys are busy. But if there is a possibility to accompany not only those like change updates with maybe a post by someone at Wise Wizards to explain the rationale behind it. I've seen that happen in other games where they're making balance changes and talking about why, and there's like a paragraph,
like dev notes.
Yeah, kind of like that. Exactly, just to say, oh well, this is why we're doing it, and that makes it, oh okay, that totally, because like
those would be perfect going to like the Dungeons Kickstarter, for example. That's a great
like
suggestion. That. So basically, time is definitely a foe here, where it's like, okay, so, you know, so sometimes we're so busy, we're just going to push something through it. But I think as often as possible, you know, as close to doing that 100% of the time, I think that's a great idea. So
cool.
So I love it. No.
Yep. Me too. Thanks, Dustin. Do you want to go to these?
Oh yeah, so so I guess one, you know, so final thing to sort of show off on the digital side is the next thing that we're going to be bringing into the beta is the Druid. This class is my favorite from the you know, from the design play testing period. Just such a fun class, and we got really, really gorgeous artwork throughout. So just sort of showing off some of the Druid starting cards here. We've got the Gnarled Staff. This one, our earlier design had it drawing a card with 2 or more champions. A little too easy to do. We've you know, internally moved that to 3 before getting to the to the digital play testing. You got the hedgehog here, guys. So
aww.
Yeah, I know, right? The fox. So the squirrel. So
Okay.
We're gonna have to have a cutest champion contest here.
You've got starting deck adorable woodland champions in your starting deck. Your skill, basically you're getting +1 combat for each champion in play. So definitely incentive to buy more champions as the druid. So like the ranger, the druid, and like the cleric, the druid likes having having a big team of champions available. And then the coolest thing about the druid is you can transform into a bear mid-battle and smack your opponent around and defend your team. So
that art is incredible for the bear. Oh my god, I love it.
So your ability, you transform into a bear, and the way we're representing that is 1, you're gaining combat. You got your bear strength and your bear claws. You're delivering some significant beatdown, so you're getting +3 combat when you transform. And then until your next turn, you're gaining 4 toughness. So toughness is it's basically like a health shield. So when you're attacked, the first 4 damage you would receive on a turn gets ignored when you have toughness 4. So basically, whatever your toughness number is, you ignore the first that much damage you receive on a turn. Until your next turn, you have toughness 4. So basically, your opponent attacks you, you're going to be taking less damage. And the most important thing is your non-guard champions can't be attacked. So basically, you are thematically, you are turning into a bear and you're running to the front. And so, your little squirrel and stuff, they're chilling in the back while you're taking care of business, in the fight. So basically, you can transform into bear form aggressively when you're like, oh man, I don't have enough combat to stun that champion that my opponent has, and that's a real problem. So I'm gonna transform into bear form to get this combat boost. But you can also transform into bear form defensively, where you're like, I've got a lot of great non-guard champions out. If I could keep these guys for another turn, that would be amazing. So you can go bear form and basically and protect your non-guard team. Your guards again thematically are up in front with you at this point. So so basically, when you have guards and non-guards, sort of thematically, the guards are in the front rank and they're protecting you and your non-guard champions. So they're they're your tanks who are up front. When you go into bear form, you're joining that rank. So your guards can still be hit when you're in bear form because they're in the front rank with you when you're in bear form. So thematically, just really love what the druid's doing. Of course, we're gonna get the big pool of playtest games as you guys kick the tires on this, and we may have to nerf or buff things here and there. Generally speaking, it's nerfing that needs to happen because again, when we design new stuff, we have fun and play around with with what we're doing. Yeah. And then obviously some of the art is not finished, but you can see sort of the process in work. So this is a black and white art piece, but here is a treasure that replaces squirrel, and with a squirrel that's good at hiding for a round when it comes in. So here we've got the Great Stag, which gives you combat and health for each champion you have in play. This don't have the artwork for this treasure yet, so you can see some of them will come into the app without art, and then the art will get added as we update it.
Sorry, this was
I love the
love it.
alliteration on Hardy Hedgehog. That's great.
And that aura, I love the hedgehog aura too. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's nice.
So you can get upgraded champions, which are doing better effects for you.
That's cool. I like that one.
Yeah. And again, just like lots of really gorgeous art as you go
Nice.
through.
So is that 5 total champions you could have in your starting deck with the Sunbird, Hedgehog, Stag, and Squirrel?
Looks like you start with 3
that's
and can
start
add
with
2.
3, and then there are additional. So there are some that replace. So like you get better fox, better hedgehog, etc. And then some additional champions that you can that you can add in as you go.
Nice.
Cards, the treasure that just gives you just a lot more purchasing power in your starting deck.
Oh,
amazing.
Stronger foxes. So fox with more combat, fox with more defense. And
yes.
you got
that's great.
Nice druid magic going.
Yeah.
So just and again, I just really geek out on the artwork.
Yeah, this is great stuff.
Yeah, for the druids. So
Incredible.
so we're going to be posting an update to the Kickstarter, and we're going to put all these cards in there. So backers, you'll be able to you don't have to pause the video a million times. You can you can you'll be able to check out an update and see all the stuff as you go. This is a fun little power we're playing around with.
Wow.
The ability to refresh your class ability, so be able to to bear out again. The rabbits are fun. So these guys are a pair. So you get two rabbits when you pick the rabbit treasures. You get 2 cards, and when the rabbit enters play, it draws you a card. And it's a little 1 defense champion that draws a card when it enters play. But if you get both rabbits, you can expend your 2 rabbits to draw cards. So yeah, you love to get your rabbits in pairs, and then various armors doing different effects for you as we go through, and improved staff where you can get the card draw with only 2 champions instead of 3.
Wow.
So the honeycomb that can give you gold or combat, replacing a gold. So lots and lots of fun to play around with. With the
Druid. That's a lot of awesome things that all those can do. It's going to be really hard to choose which.
So you're going to have some really hard choices. And again, all this stuff is pre-digital balance pass. So we're going to have the all the Legends backers are going to get to play the Druid. I'm sure when the Druid first drops in the app, there's going to be a million Druids starting up at the same time. And you guys can try out all the different stuff, and then we will, and obviously we want your thoughts and feedbacks directly. If some things aren't fun, or this feels too weak or too strong, or you're playing against the Druid and it's really annoying because they're doing X or Y. We want that. We want that feedback, but we'll also invisibly behind the scenes see the win ratios on everything that happens, as it goes. So and that'll help us balance throughout. Lots and lots of fun stuff. And again, I love the art on the Druid stuff.
Yep. I have to say, from art, flavor, mechanics, there's a lot to be excited about Druid here. So really looking forward to this hitting the app.
Yeah, I'm excited to discuss with Tim and Matt and Chris what our Druid episode is going to be like on Sparks and Recreation, because we're gonna definitely need to do a deep dive on all the things we just saw today.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So Deb, any thoughts on the Druid art stuff or the game stuff, or from the comments section?
Well, I thought you meant from me.
Well, from you, no, both from you and from the comments section.
Well, I love the art. I've been most excited about the Druid, and I've done the bear changing Druid in D&D, so I'm very excited about that. Before I even saw all these awesome cards, I think I already put this one up, but the Secret Squirrel needs a ninja outfit.
Yeah.
And then we got to ask about the pledge manager. We can probably answer that after we're done going through the cards. Just positive comments. People are very excited.
I saw one question from Decat I wanted to ask, actually.
Absolutely.
Does toughness work the same as guard, as it can prevent you from your champions from being targeted?
I think he means when you go into bear form. When you go into bear form.
When you're in bear form, you only prevent your champions from being attacked. So it's not you're not quite as good as a guard, in that a guard actually prevents things from being targeted. So an assassin can still sneak past you and take out one of your guys. But because you can remove a guard from the table with a stun target champion effect, but you can't remove a player with it. That was a bridge too far on the power level. So yeah, it does not prevent your guys from being targeted, just from a generic attack. Like, I have combat, I am going to spend it to attack this, attack that, attack that. You cannot when your opponents for that turn, your opponent's in bear form, you're not going to be able to target you use your attack combat to go after the regular guys, but you could target them with a stun target champion effect.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Expend 2 rabbits, add another rabbit.
Yeah. So you don't add, actually, when you get the rabbits, you get 2 of them. We thought about trying to have additional rabbit cards, but it's just obviously we have printing this is a physical and digital game, so we were dealing with the physical limitations. So the card draw was basically the multiplying theme. But,
it's good.
Makes sense.
We'll have even more cards shown on in the update on the Kickstarter. So basically people can go there and see all the stuff we've shown, and more. And of course, we'll be having these cards will get tweaked over time as we get this playtesting feedback.
Good suggestion.
So toughness would not block the fireball. So yeah, sadly, turn into a big bear, you run in front, and then a little red globe goes past you, and boom. So basically, the Wizard's Fireball will indeed, basically allow bypass. So that's actually that's a really interesting thing. So sometimes you get these like class versus class dynamics. So for example, when you're playing cleric and wizard against each other, there's you're trying to pressure the other player to the wizard wants to sort of pressure the cleric to do a big resurrect before they use their fireball, so their fireball can trump the big resurrect, and the cleric's trying to do the same thing to the wizard in reverse. You get a similar dynamic with the bear form and the fireball. Like sometimes you can yes. Yeah. Well, wizards are
poor little animals.
Yeah. Don't worry. They're not killed. They're only stunned in Hero Realm. Nothing's dying. It's just getting stunned and coming back.
True.
Except for sacrifices. We're not going to talk about those. All right.
So I have a couple other questions which are not related to these cards. So
all right. So Chris, Sam, do you guys have anything else you want to add before we kick you off the stream and go on and finish up the remaining questions?
There were a few kind of general things with the app and stuff that we wanted to talk about. If we could take a minute to kind of like blitz through them. So we did talk about rerolls already and how they would like contribute to a more robust meta. I think we want to see that. As it is now, it would take if you have a 500 win rate and you're not getting any XP bonus, it's 65 games to go from level 1 to 14. So imagine you want to change like one card and you have to play 65 games.
So and that number will only increase as the level cap increases. So
exactly.
So the prestige grind. So yes, that is a feature that is coming, and it will be, it'll be a gems based thing to rework your skill and abilities. And we're also looking at on the treasure side of things. We're still working out the details on it, but what we want to have is like a treasure room, like where you can collect extra treasures. So basically what would happen is like you could, if you've when there's two choices at some point, like by like winning an event or paying some gems or whatever, you can go to a shop and you can buy the other choice. Then your character has both, and you can swap at your leisure between games. So basically the way we're looking at, so again, we're trying to match the theme with the
function.
Yeah. So basically if it's an item, you can just get it and then be like, oh, I'm going to go out, and which hat am I going to wear today? And you just pick the one, and okay, great, you've got it. And then so you can switch that every time you play if you want to, but like changing your fighting style, that takes some work. So that is that's an individual training event where you're like, okay, I'm gonna go retrain, and you get to redo your skill and ability tree. So we're looking at the mechanics of it being a treasure room where you'll collect the treasure choices. So eventually there'll be 20 total treasures, 10 individual choice points, and you're going to get one of those for free, obviously, as you go off with your character. And then a character can earn or buy the additional ones, allowing the back and forth swaps. So again, if you're a Legends backer, basically you're going to get to do everything as much as you want because you'll have unlimited gems. Hooray!
Yeah, I'm going to have a stable full of animals as a druid for sure.
Yeah, I think that that's a really cool way of like conceptualizing the difference between how your training is like a different process, but your items that you can switch out. That all sounds like something that will take a larger infrastructure change. Something else that's kind of been in demand that could be a bit of a band-aid towards that is the need for more character slots. As it is now, most people only have 10, and in the competitive scene, that's almost a bit of an issue if you're stuck at 10, because it can be good to, like, for me personally, and I've been planning to write an article about this, like my wizard, I can build a wizard for aggro, I can build a wizard that likes to play the long game, I can play a wizard that's tuned for the mirror, and I can also make a wizard that's tuned for I don't know, and I think this is the most well-rounded wizard.
Yes.
So that's like 4 wizards right there. You can multiply that across, and all of a sudden, if you want to have like as much opportunity to respond to the matchups that you encounter in the different tournaments that we run, you want to have a lot of character slots. So I feel like character slots would be a great stopgap for players to be able to have a bunch of the different options for playing all the different ways without needing to have all the rerolls in place quite yet.
Yeah. So several things. So one, it's nice to have character slots because, among other things, you don't want to necessarily have to go through the retraining process each time. You could just have like 2 different wizard characters who have different styles, and okay, when I feel like playing this style, I just click on playing this wizard and the other wizard. So that's yes, very nice. And you think you're feeling tight on those slots now. We haven't even dropped the ancestry pack yet, and oh man, now,
exactly.
I want to have my half demon wizard, and a small folk wizard would be fun, and an ogre wizard, or basically just there's so many different builds that you can do with the different ancestries is just a massive ×6 multiplier on everything you were doing before. So yes, additional character slots is something we're going to be adding. That is going to be, yet another thing that you can buy with gems. There will, of course, be a theoretical maximum that you'll have, but it'll be a pretty big number. Again, for those Legends backers with infinite gems, you'll be able to freely upgrade your slots, but it'll be pretty cheap for again, we're talking adding additional slots will probably be in the in the 50 cents ballpark as far as how many gems worth of currency you'll need. So anybody who backed the Kickstarter at all is going to have a bunch of gems. You get can't remember,
$30 worth or something.
Yeah, $30 or something like that. So you'll have a lot, and you'll be able to buy a bunch of cosmetics and extra slots and retrain when you feel like it, etc. And you'll have a bunch of running room with that. If you're new to the app and you didn't come in through the Kickstarter, for the entertainment time, you're going to get very low prices to play around with that stuff. And then, of course, if you're a Legend backer, you can just the game is your sandbox. Play around as much as you want because you have infinite unlimited gems. So yeah, we're doing that. And what other features are you guys looking for?
So I think the arena and cosmetics, kind of borrowing from Star Realms, people are really hungry to see that. I think we know all the benefits that arena has offered to Star Realms in terms of weekly engagement and the incentives that it provides. And I think we already talked about cosmetics a little bit. Another one that I think could be really cool is achievements, because achievements would they're very popular in games. They're very aspirational. People like to try to achieve things, and it also would continue to recontextualize your market choices. So you'd be like, ooh, I want to queue up and I want to do this crazy thing because it's going to get me an achievement. But I also think that they should be not applicable for challenges, right? Because then it would not only incentivize people to queue up, but you also wouldn't be able to collaborate, oh, Sam, do this challenge with me and help me, cheese out this achievement.
Sure.
So that's just a quick thought for that.
Yes. So basically, these things are, the achievements is not on our short list, but it is something that we are interested in. The arenas and the cosmetics are definitely on the short list. Another thing that is just straight up tournaments, in Star Realms, there's a lot of fun things that we can do in tournaments. For example, having you create a character from scratch for a tournament. You enter the tournament and you make a level X character, so we can have tournaments at a level. We can also have tournaments where you level in the tournament. So we're starting this tournament at level 3, and every round you level up, win or lose, and so we can there's a lot of cool things we can do in Hero Realms with tournaments that aren't available in Star Realms. So they basically we've got, unfortunately, we have a feature list mile long that we want to get in the app. So we're going to be constantly improving the Hero Realms digital app, adding new stuff. Right now, a lot of the digital team's runtime is being used putting this dungeons content in, and this is, in a way, we're basically banking time, in that this is content that will be coming into the app in future months and years. So basically, we're not dropping all the new characters all at once. There's I have a multi-year plan of various content that's going to be coming into the app at various time, various level cap increases, etc. We're basically doing that with the beta players and kicking the tires and testing stuff. But all the UI stuff, we're not finishing. So for example, there may be graphics and sounds and things that will happen in the final version, which the beta version doesn't have, but we're seeing the cards and testing the mechanics, etc. But this is basically removing work that we're going to have to do in the future. So right now, the sort of general feature development is slower than it would normally be. In the future, we're going to get the benefits of that, because all right, guys, when I tell the digital team, okay, guys, you're going to be putting in the Alchemist and the Barbarian, they all right, we got the code, it's ready to go, it's fully tested through the beta, we're just moving it over to the regular app. So it'll be a much shorter process for them. Obviously, in the intervening time, we'll have to, hire the sound artists and etc. to get all the extra little feet, but all the little extras on it. But a big hunk of that work's done. So you'll see these features coming in a little bit slowly. Now I'm constantly asked by the digital team, okay, which is more important? Should we finish up the Druid? Should we put in this feature? And I have to sort of assign priorities. So we're sort of, hopping from one thing to the other, but we're gonna, but all these improvements and many, many more will be coming over time. So it's just a matter of digital team runtime.
Yep. Yeah, no, and I appreciate understanding your priorities there a little bit and emphasizing the beta and dungeons and everything. I do think that the rest of the player base, the non-Legends backers, are hungry for new content.
Absolutely.
And speaking to that specifically, Call to Arms seems like it's very close to being able to get brought in.
So basically,
can you speak to the timeline there or anything?
Yeah, so imminent, very, very soon. So basically there's campaigns to content. So when we do an update, there's campaign content, which is not something we're doing in the beta, because that's PvE and that is easy for us to tweak, later on. But so the campaign's done, the cards are done, and obviously the beta players have been playing with them, and the level cap increase to 14 is done. We're making some tweaks to some of the higher level treasures, etc. That is going to be coming very soon in the app, probably a matter of weeks. Obviously
Great.
You can never say 100%, when something is dropping, but that'll give players obviously higher level cap, more campaign play, new treasures. That's
going to fire things up in the meta.
So that'll be really nice. The next thing I had initially scheduled, and we may reorder this because of the work we're doing with the Dungeons Kickstarter, but after that, the plan was to add ancestries into the app, and then after that, it's journeys content with a level, increasing the level cap by 2 more levels. So basically, and then the one after that is the Alchemist and the Barbarian. So basically, the general plan is alternating updates where one update has new stuff, new characters to play, ancestries, new character classes, etc. And then the alternating updates are level cap increases and new cards for the market. So basically, we'll be alternating back and forth with those. In a perfect world, it'd be every few months, and we'd get one of those. In reality, it's going to take, it takes as long as it takes to get it right. So yes, there's we got, there will be a stream of continuous new content for years in Hero Realms, and that's not counting all the just quality of gameplay upgrades. We're at some point we'll drop in tournaments into the app, etc. So basically, the general quality of play upgrades will just be happening continuously, and then we'll have the big updates, with the dropping with new content, and again, the Call to Arms is imminent, so very, very soon. We're basically the digital team's done and just doing the final tweaks.
That sounds amazing. We have one last question, if you'll bear with us.
Yeah.
We could probably keep you for 5 hours straight asking you questions about things that are happening.
Can we make it 2? Because I think I know what you're going to ask, and I think I have one more I want to
get.
Okay, we'll call it. I promise.
I mean, it's kind of contextual as far as quality of life goes, but you guys released a really cool thing where you could create your own custom scenarios. Right now, I think they stopped working in PvE, but they were only working in PvE. We were curious if there was a possibility of that going live in PvP, because we're all very anxious to make our own classes and alter some starting decks and do some really cool stuff in the app. I don't know if that's on your
We-
radar or not.
So Tanthor Jen, our head of digital, is one of the he's one of our business partners and runs our digital department. He is really big on wanting to give you guys the keys to the castle and let basically allow you to create content, etc. And so that's definitely going to happen at some point. There's a whole slew of questions that we have to answer on implementation, legal, et cetera, et cetera. But yes, it's definitely something that we want to do. And again, everything's a trade-off, right? Like basically, okay, if they implement A, they can't implement, they got A, B, C, and D, and you got to say, okay, which one are we working on next, which is the the next thing we got to get. So that's something we want to do, and I can't tell you when.
That's fine. So we had it for PvE, but it's currently broken, so maybe we'll try to follow up with Joel a bit more on that to see if we can figure out how to get that back working. I think there's just some documentation we need, but we made a custom cross class of thief plus cleric. We had a user that made their own witch, but it was all only working for PvE, which is cool. But what will really drive the community engagement is the PvP option.
Of course, and basically, in a letting you guys play around with our assets like that and sort of create new stuff, and then being able to let's put this into the beta and let it be a selection that the Legends backers can kick the tires on. Then we get it to the point where it's balanced. Then we can migrate it over to the regular app. I mean, that's just great stuff. Being able to do multi-classes and new content and having the community sort of getting the keys to the car a little bit and being able to move stuff forward. So that's sort of the long-term dream there.
I think a great example of that already happened was someone in the community, I think it was Agency 13, wrote the script for No Heroes, right? Like when you play with No Heroes. And then that got put into the game now as an optional custom mode. You can challenge someone with that. And in the community, we have created a division that's all about playing it with the vanilla cards. We have probably 40 players that are signed up for it. And we also have an event that simulates the Legends events where we start with vanilla in the Swiss, and then you switch to picking a character pack and playing at level 3. So all these things, all these features, I just want you to know how much we really are using them in the app.
That's awesome. And that's as I said early on, one of the things that we really focus on is, okay, what does the community want to play around with, and we really try to put that in the app, and especially in challenge mode, basically when you're issuing a challenge to a specific person, being able to play all kinds of crazy stuff. That's where we don't need the safety rails as much if it's a challenge.
Totally agree.
You put relatively untested stuff in there, and it's a challenge. If if your friend is using overpowered stuff on you, you can just smack them around later. It's fine. So,
okay. Last thing for me, and I promise I'm out, and I really do thank you so much for the time. There's a bit of a perception of the balance of the OG classes that cleric has really bad matchups against everything except fighter. And has pretty bad numbers. And then fighter is very one-dimensional at the high levels. It can only go aggro. There's some desire for a rework there that either it gets more econ or something so it's less one-dimensional. And also the fighter versus cleric matchup is very bad. It's about 35% win rate for the fighter to beat the cleric in our experience and testing. So those are the last two things, cleric power buff and fighter change are the two last things I want to throw out there on your radar.
So basically this is areas where we try and give utilize the skill tree and such to give options for their. Now some you sort of have natural, this is going to be tough, because each class has certain things that they're just sort of inherently good at based on their starting deck and etc. And and sometimes those things match up in ways that are painful for one side or the other. And I think what we try and do is address that in skill and ability tree. With a fighter cleric matchup, it's really challenging, but we made massive changes to like one side of the
whirling blow, where it can like draw 2 or do the stunning and the expending and stuff.
And basically like, you know, giving the ability to like, all right, you got a huge team, all right, you're gonna take the whole thing down. Also, the health cap was a big, a big balancer there, where like you can definitely get to the point where you can do lethal damage in one great blow.
You got a one shot,
with, you know, if you've got and being able to basically, all right, I can get rid of your wall of dudes and and come through. So that's stuff that we're definitely trying to address. It's as I said, it's challenging, like basically making sure that this stuff functions, especially if the cleric is specifically designing, like basically we're giving the fighter some, here's some choices you can make that can
tools.
Tools that can help you in this type of matchup. But if the cleric's specifically going against that in their choices, that can make things
for sure.
That can make things extra rough. But yeah, it's something that we're constantly looking at. So when we look at win rates, we don't know. We also break them down by class. Class A versus Class B matchups. And here's the scenario where sometimes the general data may be different from the super fan data. Like
I was totally going to make the same point. Like you have to balance for everyone, but we are seeing that like at the level 12 super competitive meta, it's not working out so well. But for like the aggregate data, it seems fine or good or anything like that.
And it can even be like level 12 across the world's working out just fine, but with these like super skilled players playing in against each other, then that's when you get like a whole different set of numbers. So
for sure, that's fair.
It's something that we're looking at, and we're super open to community ideas. Like, oh man, maybe if the fighter had a treasure that did X, that would address this issue in a way that wouldn't be overpowered but would cause interesting things, etc. So we look at the big picture stuff, like how often is A or B chosen on treasures. We want to try and get that as even as possible. We want when we can work in fun, new, different stuff. Like that new cutlass with we can I can stun all the expended champions, like those sorts of things. When we can throw in some cool different mechanics, we like to. But yeah, it is definitely a challenge, like when you're dealing with like a low health class like the wizard and a high damage output class like the barbarian. These are like getting that's
Wizard has its options though. If you serene channel and you arcane gloves and pay attention to the market.
Exactly. We try and give tools to and if you build that type of wizard, you're not going to do as well against the cleric as you would if you built a wizard that was like maxing on how well they're comboing. So yeah, I mean basically that's a mix. So yeah, we do look at every single class, and if the win percentages, like overall the win percentages are pretty reasonable on everybody, and basically we try and keep things as close to 50% as possible. An occasional 60-40 is totally reasonable. The 70-30 is where it's like, okay, this is a real problem. We've got to that's sort of an emergency. We got to figure out a way to to fix it. We basically want you to be able to win any game, by
given the market and the shuffles.
Obviously a little bit of luck, a little bit of skill. But we want you to be able to pull through.
Okay.
So
we got a compliment here that we're really good at listening to super nerd feedback. Thank you.
We appreciate you guys.
It helps that we're nerds. So
we're all in it together, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you guys so much. And to end, I think Chris and I would love to just highlight how much we absolutely love the game. Your
Joel,
openness
as
to talk to us,
mentioned by Bork,
for sure. Joel, huge shout out. and the whole team really, because there's a ton of people that are doing stuff that we are absolutely loving that we've never heard of. And so, for everyone at Wise Wizards,
Mateo,
thank you
shout out
guys.
Mateo.
Yeah, Mateo, we met him today. He's awesome. Great outfit, Mateo. Thank you. And I just can't say how thrilled I am to be a part of the community, and that you guys are willing to bring us on and talk to us more about this.
Oh yeah,
so thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. And definitely amplifying the shout out to Joel. So basically, if you go on to the Wise Wizard Game Discord, Joel is there. He'll answer questions from people. He gets on and plays the games. So he is
he's made out of Legos.
He's he's on our he's key member of the digital team, and he is and he's really big on interacting with the community. And so so when you have a problem, you can literally go onto the Wise Wizard Games Discord and be like, hey, this isn't working, what's happening? And good chance Joel will answer you and say do X, and you're good to go. So Joel is a superhero. Yeah.
Great.
So I do want to mention that we did get a lot, before you guys drop off, we did get a lot of input and not really questions, but sort of suggestions for features like Discord integration, import custom avatars, getting win-loss ratios, foil cards, Deb's glasses as a cosmetic item.
Yeah, I like that.
Nice. That's a good one.
So we did get some feedback. So I'll give that feedback to the digital team. We don't have time today to kind of go through each of those things and talk about it, but yeah, so thank you everyone in the comments who did provide feedback as we were talking.
Yeah, and thanks for everybody who's watching our 2-hour-long stream here. Our goal is to get Chris and Sam fired.
Yeah, it's working. I'm really scared to turn on my work computer.
Sorry, boss.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
thank you as well. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye. All right. That's fun. So I had a couple questions that were not related to.
Absolutely.
There's still some things we didn't answer, but maybe we can get to that in a future stream or in an update.
Mm-hmm.
Epic. A couple people. What was it? Black Market Spit Posts and Godwin's Name want to know if there will be additional cards coming to the Epic digital app.
Yeah. So basically, long term, we want to make everything that we have in physical in digital. So that's it's not Epic isn't a huge revenue generator for us, so we have to time when we do it to sort of between the projects of like Hero Realms, Star Realms, etc. But we're absolutely going to be adding new content, and long term we want to make sure like the Epic app continues to work when when like the iOS gets updated, etc. So yes, we're planning on adding additional cards in to digital, and basically every once in a while adding some new card content for physical as well. So, and everything eventually will make its way through to the digital app.
Awesome, thanks. And Pledge Manager for Hero Realms Dungeons.
Oh yeah, so that's we just had a meeting on that this week, working on details. That's going to be coming probably early next month. This in no way will slow down the process. So basically, we got sort of two separate tracks where we've got the designers and the testing and the digital team working on moving the stuff closer to being able to be sent to the printer. And then on a completely separate track, we got the logistics team dealing with, collecting everybody's shipping address and, of getting people's Pledge Manager stuff lined up, etc. So yeah, it'll be probably early next month. So that'll be coming soon, and we'll have more information on that in updates, of course.
Shameless plug. Come play Dustin.
Nice.
On Saturday on the Twitch stream. Say hi. If you beat him, you get some free credits in the game.
Not an easy task, but yes, free credits if you win. And it's free to play.
And I think that was, oh, someone had asked, we'll save this for a future stream. What are we planning to do anything for our 10-year anniversary? So in the fall will be our 10-year anniversary.
We want to plan something for our 10-year
Yeah.
anniversary. Yeah.
I'll get back to you on that.
We got this great thing. We're just not ready to announce yet.
Yeah. So Alexander had asked that. So thanks for the question, but we'll provide more information on that. But yes, we'll be doing something, and we have talked about some ideas, but we'll do a few things. 10 years is a big deal. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining, and thank you. I know it went a little longer than we expected.
A little long.
Yeah. So, and we'll see you when we stream the next time.
Thanks everybody.
Bye.